What is up, everybody? I am Caleb Ochoa, also known as NFL Caleb 22. We are back here for another episode of Betting the NFL, and I can't do this without my co-host, Derek Weatherly. How you doing, man?
Yeah, what's going on, man? DWeezy back here
Yeah,
with you.
yeah,
We're gonna tear into it, see what we can find in these lines.
yeah. I'm excited. Ready to make these people some money. That's what we try and do here. Give y'all, whoever's watching, give y'all some knowledge and put some money in your pockets. So I'm glad we get to do that on this show. So we are gonna start here with the NFC West division this week, and we're gonna first talk about the Super Bowl champion Los
That's
Angeles
right.
Rams, and they did win this division last season. They went 12-5 on the way to a Super Bowl championship. In the off season, they lost a couple pieces. They lost Von Miller, cornerback Darius Williams, guard Austin Corbett, left tackle Andrew Whitworth, and receiver Robert Woods. They added receiver Allen Robinson, a linebacker Bobby Wagner, cornerback Troy Hill, and lineman Brian Allen and Coleman Shelton in the draft. Of course, the Rams don't really care about draft picks, but in the third round, they do get guard Logan Bruss, cornerback Jacoby Durant, and running back Kyron Williams from Notre Dame. And the Super Bowl champs, like McVay was saying during that parade, which only like 5 people attended, um, he was saying run it back, and that's what it seems like they're trying to do. They're trying to run it back. They signed Aaron Donald to a big contract. They're getting all their at least most of the key pieces back, and they're trying to run it back. They're trying to do it again, and trying to get back to the Super Bowl. So, but yeah, what do you think about them their chances?
Yeah, like you said, they're definitely trying to run it back. The LA Rams have embodied that FTK mentality when it comes to their draft picks. Um, you know, they don't have that as a source to bring in young talent. So, they're not necessarily forced to turn towards free agency, but it definitely puts more pressure on the in-house development. Somebody like a Van Jefferson, you might see not necessarily a breakout year, but I think the decisions they made over the offseason sort of point to they may try to lean on him more, uh, pairing him with Cooper Cup, which, last year showed that the connection between Cup and Stafford is a dangerous one. Um, the defense played stout. You have talent at all levels. Whether it be cornerback, last year you saw, Von Miller in there. Um, Linebacker might be a hole for him a little bit this season in defense, but they still have Donald on the defensive line wrecking havoc. And, I don't necessarily see much drop off out of this team.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Their odds to win this division, they are the favorites, but they do got a plus number as a favorite. They are plus 130 to win, and their over and under win total is at 10.5. And I do believe that they can get back to at least where they were last year at 12 wins. I really think they can get back to that mark. I don't think that'd be too difficult because they do have a lot of the same pieces that they had last year to win a lot of games. They still got Matt Stafford, and he's getting another year under McVay's system. Um, so yeah, I mean he's just gonna do a lot better with another year under his belt. And yeah, even though I really like this talent, um, they yeah, what I was gonna say, yeah. So yeah, with the plus number, usually the favorites have the minus number. So I find really good value um as a favorite to have a plus number here. So that's why I would bet them to win the division. I would bet them to go hit that over mark because I really do think they're going to win a lot of games. And we're not betting on whether they're going to give back to back Super Bowls. Obviously, hasn't been done. than so far with the Patriots, but we're just betting on what they're going to do in the regular season here. So I really think they have a really good chance to do that, and I do find very good value in that plus number as a favorite to win the division. But what are you betting on them?
Yes, that definitely caught my eye that they were on the plus side there, where I was looking had them 135, in that same ballpark. Uh, I think that says not necessarily how dangerous this division could be, but more the pitfalls the Rams could face. It's their division to lose, but you do have some talented teams in the 49ers and the Cardinals. We're still unsure what we're going to see out of the 49ers. Um, I think therein lies, a question: how confident are you in the 49ers? And I think the possibility of um, the Rams being potentially upset in that favorite position is, in line with a number of the things that lead to you seeing that plus figure. Um, yeah, it's a little attractive seeing a team like that with a plus number to win the division. Where I was looking, they had the over under on the total wins at 10.5, which I think is a number they could easily cover.
Yeah,
Uh, you know, as we were talking with this division, the Cardinals, they could be potentially boom or bust this season. That might be two easy wins there. Even if the Cardinals are playing well, the Rams are a good team. That might still be two easy wins. The Seahawks, they are in a rebuild mode. Um, so, that could easily be four wins right there. And then you're talking about getting 7 wins on the rest of the season. Like you said, there wasn't much turnover with this team. They're able to maintain a core. I think, like I said, of the teams here, I would, if I had to pick one, I would definitely go with the Rams as far as division winner. Like you said, maybe not to make a deep run in the playoffs or to reach a Super Bowl, but division winner seems to be well within reach.
yeah, yeah. Definitely agree with that. I think it's very doable for them. With the still they have a very talented team. So yeah, I feel like they can definitely win some a lot of games there. But we will move on to the second place in team division, which was the Arizona Cardinals. They go 11-6. They were the runners for a while there at the beginning of the season, but as they do, they fall off. But in the off season, they lose Chandler Jones. They lost Jordan Phillips, linebacker Jordan Hicks, receiver Christian Kirk, running back Chase Edmonds. They add Hollywood Brown, receiver from the Ravens. They get guard Will Hernandez, linebacker Nick Vigil, running back Darrell Williams. And in the draft, they take in the second round Trey McBride, tight end from Colorado State, pass rusher Cameron Thomas from San Diego State, the pass rusher Majai Sanders from Cincinnati. Like I said, this team, this coach, Cliff Kingsbury, is just known for his, end of the season, end of the season debacles, kind of falling off there, and that's kind of what they did. They started very strong. They lose some games. They lose. They had the division. Um, it seemingly wrapped up until they started going a losing streak. And then, of course, in the playoffs, they get a quick beatdown by the rival Rams in the playoffs. So yeah, but I still think they got the pieces on this team to win some games here, and I feel good about the number being at about 9.5. Yeah, the number is at 9.5. Over and under win total. Their odds are at they're actually third, which actually is pretty decent value at plus 300. Um, so if you want to throw a medium bet on that, I wouldn't mind taking that. This is going to be a very tough, competitive division, and if I mean at plus 300, I find great value in that. But what are your thoughts on the Arizona Cardinals?
Um, I think I'm for the most part in the same boat with you there. Like you said, this is a team that has a lot of talent. They have had a good bit of turnover. I think the Hollywood Brown pickup was a good move. Um, I feel he's the type of wide receiver that could excel in number two position. Not necessarily use him as a slot or just some speed guy, but to have two legitimate wide receivers out there and him not be required to be the primary guy, I think will offer him some better matchups as far as who he might see on the other side in coverage. Um, and yes, they could be a dangerous team this year. As I was saying, that's why we possibly see a plus number with the Rams. Um, where I was looking, they had the Cardinals plus 275. Technically third behind the Rams, but still, like you said, a you're not going to see too many third place teams in the odds have a legitimate shot at winning the division.
Yeah, that just shows how tough they at least Vegas thinks this division will turn out, because all these numbers are very close, and you usually don't see that in
Yeah,
other
exactly.
divisions.
Yeah.
You usually see a clear favorite. They're in the minus, and then all the rest are in the plus, and yeah, you clearly see who Vegas likes and doesn't
Yeah.
like.
Or you might see, a two pony show where you have two teams maybe around, you know, plus 100, plus 125, floating around even money. And then the other two teams in that division, you're likely looking at something plus 700, plus 800, plus 1,000, getting worse as you go. So yes, to be looking at a division where you have three teams all with odds shorter than plus 300 to win the division, they definitely expect the division to be a tight race all season.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing to think about this tandem of Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury, they've improved every single year. They have gone from 5 wins to 8 wins to 11 wins. So they seem to be getting better. Kyler Murray himself seems to be getting better every season, getting more wins. And if you think they're just gonna, if you just follow the trends and you feel like they're gonna get even more better, they might not have 3 more wins. They may go on a run. They might get that three, keep increasing to 3 more wins and get to like 14-3. But at least they can at least hit that mark where they were last year and still be and at least be just as good, at least in my opinion. And that's what I would bet on. I would definitely bet the over 9.5. And like I said before, I would put at least a good, at least I would put probably almost the same money as I would put on the Rams to win the division. I'd split it, whatever bet you would think to put on one team another. I would split it because I really think it's going to be that competitive. I think he's going to fight. It's going to go all the way to the end of the season, and I would kind of hedge my bet in that way to have pretty much even money on both, and see what happens with these two teams at the end of the season. But what are you betting on, man?
Oh yeah, that's definitely a possible move that you can look at as a better with that plus money being, on both sides, taking the top two teams, whether it be, Rams 49ers, Rams Cardinals, 49ers Cardinals, however you want to mix it up. Um Basically, plus money on both, like you said, putting equal money on both those teams. Yes, only one's going to hit, but even if the team with the shorter odds hits,
Yeah,
it might be a skinny profit, but a profit's still a
yeah,
profit. Winning is winning. It don't matter by how much.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
And so,
so
what do you? Yeah, go
well,
ahead.
the book I was looking at, it seems like they might have the 49ers and the Cardinals flipped. Here they had 8.5, which I think is a very good number. Basically one minus 115 both ways on the over under. Um, like you said, this is going to be a tough division. We could end up seeing this division potentially produce three teams for the playoffs or at least be in contention to have more than two teams in the playoffs. Um, so yeah, like you were saying, uh, I feel the Rams are probably the best team to win the division, but looking at the other two teams that have a legitimate shot, you know, plus 215 for the Niners, plus 275 for the Cardinals. You know, taking one of those along with the Rams, easy way to, like I said, you're either getting a skinny profit or more likely, 275 would basically plus 175, and that's still good odds on a
Yeah.
single play.
All right. So and you got the over right as well.
Yes, I would definitely lean to the over on that one, especially if you're seeing juice like minus 115.
Hmm.
That tells you, maybe they don't have a line necessarily on this because they they sure didn't want to put it at a 7.5 and juice the over. Um, And if I saw that at 7.5, I'd probably smash the over regardless what the juice was looking like. But that being said, I think the over is definitely a play. With where I was looking, it was 8.5. If it was 9.5, I'd probably smash the under. Uh, but again, 8.5 minus 115, I'll definitely take a poke at that.
All right. Next, we will get to the third place team, which was another playoff team, and that is the San Francisco 49ers. They get into the playoffs at 10-7. In the offseason, they lost guard Lincoln Tomlinson, defensive lineman DJ Jones, running back Raheem Mostert, uh, cornerback Quan Williams, linebacker Marcel Harris, and tackle Tom Compton. They add cornerback Chavarius Ward, edge Kerry Hyder, tight end Tyler Croft, D lineman Hassan Ridgeway, and receiver Malik Turner. Notable draft picks they get defensive lineman out of USC, Drake Jackson, running back out of LSU, Tyrion Davis Price, and in the fourth they get offensive lineman Spencer Buford. But yeah, the most important thing, um, I think, in sports betting is having all the information. Would you, Gary? Yeah,
Yes, yes.
having the most information. But this
Yeah,
is the thing: we just don't know about their the most important position in football, and that is the quarterback. And we just don't know anything from Trey Lance because we haven't seen enough. And
well,
that's
not
that's
only that, we don't even know potentially what Jimmy G can even get out there
exactly
and do. It's
we
not just a question. It's it's more a question of, do they even have somebody they could walk out there to play come Sunday?
exactly. That's why I think it's the hardest bet to make in pretty much the whole NFL. I struggled. I struggled to make a determination. Honestly, if I was getting just straight up advice, I would just say stay away. Just don't even bet on the Niners. But that's not the show. The show is we have to make a pick. And my pick, I mean, well, I'll first start with the odds. The odds are, let me get to it. The odds are the 49ers are in the second place to win the division at plus 190. Actually, better odds than the Cardinals, and they have a over and under same as the Cardinals at 9.5 for their over under win total. But it's really the real bet is whether you think Trey Lance is ready or not. That's really the bet you're making when you're betting the 49ers. But yeah, what do you think about this of Trey Lance's and the 49ers chances? Yeah, on mute.
Yeah,
You went on mute again.
sorry about that. Yeah, that's the question with this team. The quarterback position, what you're going to get, not only production wise, but who's going to be out there. It will be interesting to see what happens on the offensive side of the ball with this team and how much losing a coaching piece I'm trying to recall his name off the top of my head. McDonald,
Yeah,
the
their
head
offensive
coach in
coordinator.
Miami.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see because something that people raved about when it came to San Fran's offense was not just their ability to run the ball, but their ability to scheme guys open, to create holes. And this
yeah,
sounds very simplistic, but we're talking about more complicated than just having your O line go up there and just try and run over somebody. We're talking about having guys pull and running traps in the backfield that look wild, but when you see it and the practice and the patience that's been put into it, when it's properly executed, it's this great run play that picks you up 6, 7 yards, and nobody had to do anything special but be in the right spot. So things like that, falling back into that unknown. Um, Game total at 9.5, where I was looking. Division odds to win, two plus 215. Honestly, with them, I think we see regression out of this team. You know, we we're basically talking about a rookie quarterback in Trey Lance.
yeah.
I don't see, even if he's the starter, even if it's Jimmy G as the starter, I don't see this team coming out and winning more than 9.5 games. Um, you know, the book has it as a big favorite with the Niners to go over this number, with the over being minus 140. I just don't see that happening in this division.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, man. I don't like the 49ers' chances this season. I really haven't. With the limited time he did play, I really wasn't impressed that he just did not look ready. He's got a kind of like a weird throwing motion. Um, Not saying he can't improve. He can come out and be like the best quarterback ever this season. But I just haven't seen. But just from what I've seen, I just don't think he's ready. I just don't I think he's going to struggle a lot this season. And but the one thing they do have, like you said, you were talking about their system, their running game, and Kyle Shanahan does have a really good offensive system there, which will help them along. But I just don't see it with this team. And remember, this team wasn't very good at the beginning of the season last year. They were under 500, not under 500 midway through the season. They got a lot of luck. They went on a run. They got hot at the right moment. That's all really need to do is get hot at the right moment. And
Oh yeah, let's not forget how big of an upset it was that this team went into Lambeau and beat Aaron Rodgers in the snow.
yeah,
Like, no, when that happened, wasn't nobody talking about, this team being a good team. It was nobody expected this team to pull this off.
yeah, and that's with Jimmy G. That's not with Trey Lance. That's two different teams right there. And at this point, you gotta say Jimmy G's better than Trey Lance at this point because that's what we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, because we got to go off what we know. And
Yeah,
like you said, that requires, leaning a bit on what you've seen, or in this case, what we haven't seen, because literally we haven't seen him.
yeah, exactly. So since we haven't seen it, I have to be pessimistic. I have to go with the under on this one. I have to, not even, make a bet for them to win the division. Um, I was just, but like I said earlier, I would just completely stay away from it and just not even bet it at all for just not even so surprised that, yeah, maybe Trey Lance is great. Or, hell, they keep Jimmy G and they throw him out there. I just don't know. I would stay away from him. But if I had to make a pick, I would say bet the under. And yeah, don't bet them to win the division. And what do you got, man?
I'm right there with you, man. I'm on the under. Where I was looking, it was plus 110. So the fact that you could get a plus number with that under, um, apparently a lot of people are big on the 49ers. I'm
Yeah,
not one of
that's
them.
surprising. I'm
Yeah.
surprised that that they are in second place to win the division. I guess Vegas knows something about Trey Lance that we don't.
Or at least they're betting on something with Trey Lance that,
Yeah,
at least I'm not seeing.
yeah. So that was very surprising to me. But I personally I don't like him. So yeah, that's my thoughts. Well, we will move on with the final team in this division, the basement dweller, which is the Seattle Seahawks. They go 7-10. They missed the playoffs, finished last in the division. Um, they lose, obviously they lose quarterback Russell Wilson. They lose Bobby Wagner, tight end Gerald Everett, um, pass rusher Terry Hyder, and tackle Jamarco Jones. They add Shelby Harris, tight end Noah Fant, cornerback Justin Coleman, quarterback Drew Lock, and center Austin Blythe, and receiver Marquise Goodwin. In the draft, they pick up Charles Cross from Mississippi State, Boye Mafe from Minnesota, and running back Kenneth Walker from Michigan State. And yeah, the one is, I mean, one of the dumbest things you can do as an NFL franchise is trade away your franchise quarterback who won a Super Bowl. I feel like that's really dumb. But you know that's Seahawks. They made that decision. They feel like they had for whatever reason move on from Russell Wilson, and they're gonna go with Geno Smith and Drew Lock. So yeah, how do you feel? How do you feel about the Seahawks with those two names?
Yeah, I feel like the Seattle Seahawks traded away Russell Wilson for a variety pack of Lay's potato chips. Um, you know, like there was a couple decent pieces in what they got in return. The draft capital wasn't too bad. But like you said, if you're going to trade away your franchise pick, especially at a position as important as the quarterback position, you have to bring in a haul. Case in point, you saw what Houston got for Deshaun Watson, who hadn't played in a year, that has all his off field issues, that have no answers behind, at least in the time frame that they moved him, as far as what might happen in a suspension, being in the NFL. All that was still up in the air completely. And he still warranted a massive haul as far as a trade. You compare something like that to what the Russell Wilson trade was, where yes, he's an older player, so that youth may come into effect on the Watson side, but
Yeah, well, it's not
I'm
like
talking
Russell Wilson's super old. Like he's still in
no,
his
but
later.
yeah, no, I'm not calling him old. I'm just saying, you might not get the exact same amount of picks or draft capital, but you're still talking about multiple picks, multiple star players, in my opinion. You're talking about a quarterback that's been to multiple Super Bowls, won one. He has Russell Wilson won MVP.
No, I don't. I think that's like the thing about him that he's hasn't even got an MVP vote.
Okay. Well, at minimum, you're talking about somebody that's been in
But
contention
yeah,
talks.
he's been in the
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah, year in and year out. He's, one of a handful of people that before the season even starts, you could potentially look at to have an MVP season depending on the team that's around him. So, like I said, I do not feel that Seattle got the best trade that they could. Um, I sure know Denver is happy, but outside of that, I can't say how this did Seattle any good. I think they
Yeah,
were able to pick up a couple decent pieces in the draft. But as far as that translating to anything on the field, this is a team in full rebuild mode. Vegas has the number at 5.5 wins. That's where I was at, juice to the over. It's a low number. It's
yeah,
hard to say go under on 5.5 wins. You know, like you were saying with the 49ers, this might be one of those where you just got to stay away from it because, yes, that over is a strong chance of coming through, but they put that number at 5.5 for a reason.
yeah,
And I'm not going to say there's too many matchups out there where I think I could confidently take Seattle to win the game.
yeah. I got the numbers at the division odds to win is plus 1200, and their over under is the same at 5.5. And I got to take the under. I mean, it's hard. Like I said, it is tough. But I just think they're really bad. I think this is a garbage team. I don't think they have even enough talent to win 6 games, to be honest. Now with the quarterbacks that they have, like I just don't, I can't see them winning. I can't see Jimmy Smith or Drew Lock winning even that many games. Like I said, they're in complete rebuild mode. I think they're tanking without actually coming out right and saying they're tanking because they know that next year is a good quarterback draft class. Um, but there has been talk of them trading for Jimmy Garoppolo. You know, and if you make the bet, like you said, if you make the bet now and to get that over, you know, and they trade for Jimmy G, then that looks a lot more likely to happen.
And
And
yeah, and that's something that's definitely still on the table. There's a few guys still out there. Things can still happen that would cause that number to move a little bit. And though I wouldn't be comfortable saying Jimmy G might, potentially put them in playoff contention, I would definitely be a lot more comfortable taking an over 5.5, and then to have Jimmy G
yes,
join this roster.
so this would be like a good situation to bet earlier than later, right?
Yeah, this was definitely one where you're more or less not necessarily trying to predict what's going to happen, but you're trying to get out ahead of what you potentially think the trend could be.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah. So we both got the under. Well, no, you got the over, right?
Yeah, I'm actually
Mm.
going to take the over on this one.
Okay.
Sort of in line with kind of what you just said. There's still movement out there that could occur. I won't sit here and try and say, exactly who or what may happen. You may see a bit of a journeyman or a backup from somewhere else get moved and maybe be able to win a couple of games. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna definitely hit the over 5.5.
All right. I'll take the under. Well, if all things stay the same, if all things stay the same, and this is the team that they're gonna roll out there, I can't see this team winning more than 5 games. Like it's just not gonna happen. So I like the under there. And that will wrap up our NFC West talk. But speaking of changing, whether we were talking about with the Jimmy Garoppolo, if you had made that pick, but now you want to change, and maybe you want to hedge your bets, seeing that because things change all the time in sports, and you make one bet too early, and things change, and then you have to hedge it and switch it up. But how does that work exactly? How do you hedge your bet? How do you bet? How do you do live betting? What does that whole process look like?
Well, really, hedging a bet is just simply you made a bet on a certain number. We're talking win totals here. So, say, you did take a stab at that 5.5 with Seattle taking the over. They go out and make a move and bring in somebody, and maybe that number moves to 7.5. Whereas you took the over on that 5.5, now you're turning around and smashing the under on that 7.5. Basically, what you're doing is just simply creating a middle where if they fall in that middle, you win both. Now, if you go 1-1, it basically break even depending on what the odds and juice are. But more or less saying, you lost one because, under 7.5, 4 is under 7.5. Over, over 8, you get 8, 9 wins. Well, that's over 5.5. Um, but yes, for some people, they definitely look at hedging as a way to try and create that middle, especially if you see that line movement. Um, it's something that can occur a lot in live markets. Something I've seen with hockey and basketball, where game totals will fluctuate a lot based off the scoring or lack of scoring. Um, and basically creating a middle where, in one instance, you had under a number, and that number uh, basically came down, and say you had under 219. Well, if that live number comes down to 210 and you smash over 210 and the final score ends up being a total of 215, well, both those plays come in. You know, some people do view it as a way more security measure. There's some instances where you can try and work it to your advantage, where you know ahead of time that you're hedging the action against itself. If you can find a plus number, it was something I've done a little bit with NHL markets, where you have a three-way total, where you have, in this instance or example, 7 may be the number. So you have over 7, exactly 7, under 7. That's why they call it a three-way market. You got
Yeah.
three options.
And
You know,
how do you prevent yourself from not just chasing a profit and maybe just breaking even? How do you determine that? How do you know when to do? How do you know when to make another bet or go against? Or how do you not like you know that something may or may not happen? Looks good, but you don't know for certain. How do you determine that point?
well, in this instance, as I was saying with the three-way markets, you're looking for certain things to take place even before you make a play. With a hockey game, quite often you'll see the game totals be around 6.5 or 7. Well, if you don't see much scoring or any scoring at all in that first period, that live total may come down around 4 or 5. And so Vegas was telling you before the game started, we expect the total around 7. Well, over 4, you can get around 7, 5, 6, 7, 8, all above 4. That might be a sign to look at that game to maybe attack the over, especially if you had a feeling that maybe, that over 7 was a possibility. You might have not been too comfortable about it. So you waited. Game starts, no scoring, you know, number comes down a little bit. Then you jump on it. You know, number comes back up a little bit. You jump on it again, go attacking that under. Uh, kind of how I mentioned with those three-way markets, where basically you have a plus number available to you. If you can align it right, take an exact number here, an over here, an under there. Even if you finish 500, even if you go 3-3, 4-4, 2-2, whatever it is, because you have those plus numbers, you're betting one unit to win more than one unit. So even though it may be only a skinny profit, it's still a profit. You might even end up, a game or two under 500 and still break even. You can't do that chasing favorites. So, yes, there is a bit of a science behind hedging. Some, people just view it as not a thing to do. You will hear some people say hedging is for gardeners and that is it. To a certain degree, I do agree with that. But if you find the potential for, like I said, in a live market, or maybe an angle where you're able to take advantage of the line movement, you're not necessarily approaching it as a hedge play almost as much as you're trying to create that middle, because you're handicapping and you expect it to fall in
Mm.
this range.
So basically, you're just trying not to lose your ass. Is what you're trying
Yeah,
to
yeah. I think,
say.
it's just a smart way of saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I got a question for you. So we hear these stories all the time where a guy has a bet on a big underdog to like win a championship, and it looks like it's gonna go, but he sells it right before the championship game. We've heard those type of stories before. Like, say you bet the Bengals were big, obviously had long odds to win the Super Bowl last year, but if you had taken them before the season to win the Super Bowl, what would you do? Would you have sold that ticket or would you have kept that ticket?
All right. As somebody whose mother is a Bengals fan, and I can't tell you why, not a very big football fan, but yes, folks, she is a Bengals fan. If I had to tell her last year if she had a Super Bowl ticket, I say, you sell that thing. You got to the Super Bowl, you sell that thing, because they're not winning. It's the Bengals. I would have based it off nothing other than
No matter
superstition.
how much you won, say you win
Yeah,
hundreds of thousands of dollars, you would have
yeah,
sold
that
it.
but that's not guaranteed money. That see, being in that position can be a rare situation because you're talking about potentially it's still a risk. It's still a gamble. I mean, if that ain't the most genuine way to decide, you know, take the guaranteed money or four times this or zero, like because last year I had a NFC futures winner, conference winner for the Rams. Um, just scrolling through, happened to find, in the odds booster section on the book I was looking at, they bumped it a little bit. I think it ended up being around maybe plus 500 around the time uh, going into the playoffs. I decided I was going to hedge it off, basically that first round, taking the money line on the other side because either the Rams won and move on to the next round, which puts me one round closer to cashing that ticket, or the other side wins and I cover the unit that I placed on that futures ticket back, months before. Well, Rams win, go to the next round, pretty much do the same thing. Rams win, go to the next round, hedge it off again, you know, and it can get a little tricky when doing that because you want to make sure that if the Rams lost, you had it set up to where you can cover your losses and still break even. But, having that option available, yes, I could have sat and let it ride, and hopefully the Rams did as they did and win the conference. But, you know, I wasn't. I felt very confident about hedging it off and just playing it that way as well.
All right. Well, that's our show. You can tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, y'all can reach me at Backyard Action Media here on YouTube. You can also contact me at DWeezy90 on Twitter. I also do lunch money bets on lunch break hot takes on Wednesdays. There's a lot of content coming out. Um, so just keep your eyes open because I keep my nose buried in these lines, and it tends to show whether it's on, here with you on the highlight show, whether it's on LBHC, whether it's Backyard Action Media, you know, DWeezy be in the book.
And you can find me at NFL Caleb 22 on Twitter and Instagram. You can find my articles that go along with this show um, on the Let's Get Ready Network.com. And we help you out with our betting knowledge and our betting tips. And we're just trying to help you out. So if you can help us out by giving us a like and subscribing to the channel if you have not. But thank y'all for watching, and we will see you next week to talk about the NFC West. So yeah, get ready for that. All right. All right. See ya.